So just a quick video for you today, and I kind of wanted to talk about all the endorsements Bernie Sanders has been getting for president and why they matter so much and how they're a good indicator of how broad his support is getting. So you might have seen on Twitter, George Takei, the star of the old Star Trek series, endorsed Mayor Pete for president. Now I don't really know why, but I think it just shows how out of touch sort of the Hollywood elite are, because obviously George Takei's story in general is quite sad. You know, he was put in a detention camp when he was a boy, obviously because the US put a lot of Japanese Americans in detention camps because they thought they might side with the Japanese or spy on the Americans. And I made a video how this was largely motivated by racism, because the scale that it was done to the Japanese was far more than it was done to the Germans and Italians. But yeah, that's obviously disappointing to see. And you see, in terms of liberal Hollywood, they endorse the worst people normally. I remember Michael Kelly from House of Cards and Jack Ryan was begging Michael Bloomberg to run for president. He's like, we need someone who can unite Republicans and Democrats. So, you know, they're just full of rubbish. And obviously a lot of these people come from humble backgrounds, but when they get to the top, they just, you know, maybe they were never big on politics to begin with, so they just endorse the worst people. But what I was happy to see the other day, and I couldn't really believe it actually, is Ariana Grande appeared to endorse Bernie Sanders for president, so I'm going to read her post. So she posed in a photo with him, so I'm going to put it on screen. They're smiling, and a photo of them hugging. And she said, "My guy, thank you Senator Sanders for coming to my show, making my whole night, and for all that you stand for. Headcount.org and I are doing our best to make you proud. I'm so proud of my fans for paying attention and getting involved. We adore you. Also, I will never smile this hard again." And then Bernie wrote underneath, "Thank you Ariana Grande for not only being a wonderful entertainer, but also for being such an outstanding advocate for social justice. We must all be prepared, like Ariana, to fight for everyone who is struggling." Now, she also said to someone else that she is getting loads of people at her concerts to sign up to vote. And obviously that's good news for Bernie, because people like Bernie and Jeremy Corbyn obviously poll really well with young people. Now, I'm not a massive fan of Ariana Grande's music, but I have to say, in terms of her politics stuff, I'm really impressed. So if you remember, in Manchester, one of her concerts was attacked by a suicide bomber, and it obviously killed a lot of children. Then she came back and performed in that charity concert in Manchester, and that is super amazing, and the courage it takes to not only, you know, organise that event, but to go back to the same city where this horrible attack happened at one of your concerts and still perform, it is super amazing. And, you know, when it happened back in 2017, I found it really inspiring. So it's good to see that she is someone who has their head on straight and supports someone like Bernie Sanders, because people might say, oh, you support who you want, but at this time in history, when you have a choice between all the other Democratic candidates and Bernie Sanders, you just have to pick the guy who has the best policies and has, you know, the will to fight for them. It's the same in the UK. You know, we have Boris Johnson and Jeremy Corbyn. I don't care what you think of Jeremy Corbyn, you've got to pick the guy who actually cares about normal people, who actually fight for you and actually puts forward policies that will help not only save the respective countries Bernie and Corbyn operate in, but stuff for the future. So Green New Deal in America, and there's lots of environmental policies the Labour Party are pushing as well. So it's good to see someone like Ariana Grande do this. And it goes to my broader point, how it is really hard to actually do this when you're that famous. And why I'm so pleased with this is because she is super famous. She is one of the most popular singers in the whole world. Her music is constantly playing on the radio, no matter what country you are, essentially. You know, you watch those Snapchat videos sometimes from the Middle East, and they're all playing like Ed Sheeran songs, Ariana Grande songs, because it's got a worldwide reach. So to have this much fame and I guess influence, and to use it for actually doing something good is great. And then you have other people like Mark Ruffalo is a really good one, who seems to be the only celebrity who called out Ellen for the George Bush stuff, and he's always been a great guy. He endorsed Bernie, one of the first celebrities to endorse Bernie. And then obviously Susan Sarandon is another good example. Obviously she was in, you know, political films like Dead Man Walking with Sean Penn, but she constantly supports people like Bernie, and she ruffles a lot of feathers because seemingly everyone in the Democratic elite seem to blame Susan Sarandon for Hillary Clinton losing, and lots of people always accuse her of swinging the votes for Jill Stein. It's just total rubbish. But it shows you what happens when you think out of line with the rest of liberal Hollywood. They start to hate you. And someone I was a bit disappointed with is Rosario Dawson, who endorsed Bernie back in the day and does post a lot of good political stuff. She's now going out with Cory Booker, and while he says some good stuff in terms of like racism and pointing out, you know, at the debate last night, that, you know, the war on drugs is a war on black people. Yeah, I respect that. But then he took money from like Jared Kushner, and he voted against this bill that Bernie voted for to make it easier for Americans to buy cheap Canadian drugs. So there are problems there, so it's a bit disappointing, but she seems like a genuinely good person as well. But overall, in this short video, my point is, when someone this famous comes out on the side of right, endorses someone like Bernie Sanders, you have to give him a lot of credit, because not many people do this, and you have everything to lose because it's controversial to like someone who's, you know, anti-capitalist, I guess, even though he's not so explicit with it. It is quite clear, and it could maybe threaten some business for her in the future. So it is a personal risk for someone like her. So I'm happy to see it, and like I said, other people, Mark Ruffalo, Susan Sarandon, you should just give credit to the people who are actually willing to stand against their industry. And you see there's so many cowards who won't say anything, who will just endorse the worst people, like George Takei endorsing Mayor Pete. Why are you doing that? You know what I mean? Like someone who, his only qualifications for being president is he's a mayor, and during his time as mayor, he has just covered up racism in his police force. That is essentially his only qualification. So don't even get me started on the rest of that. But anyway, let me know what you think of Ariana Grande. Let me know if there's any other celebrities in the comments that you respect for their political stances and their political work. I would be really interested in hearing that. If you want to follow me on social media, follow me at The Cavernacle on both Twitter and Instagram. Maybe check out my Reddit, which is u/TommyCahill1995. If you want to become a patron, just look in the description at my Patreon page. And I want to say thank you to everyone who already has become a patron. I'm always super grateful for your support. If you want to check out my WordPress blog, that is just in the description as well. And if you made it this far, thank you for watching.